Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Is Claressa Shields losing the fans? Has she lost the fans? Even some of her own fans, are they jumping ship? What's up with the backlash? Did Papoose turn brands off from working with the GOAT, or did she do it herself? I'm going to tell you right now, the more we talk about this, Claressa Shields, outstanding fighter, but I got to ask the question, is Claressa Shields facing a different type of shift now in public perception? Now, you're looking at Alycia Baumgardner, and as you know, AB and the MVP roster gain momentum, some fans believe Claressa is getting pulled into negativity, controversy, and constant spotlight battles and being encouraged by Papoose to do that because of how it expands her profile. Not in a necessarily the way we think it should be expanded, but it gets more attention on her. Now, I think it's important to try to explore why fans think Claressa is losing support, the psychology of comparison, and attention in elite athletes, because Claressa is not the only one who's been in a position like this. And I understand the long-term mental effects of constant public scrutiny, which Claressa is just under that public scrutiny every single day. And when it comes to athletes who are under the public scrutiny, can images be repaired? And what history shows about athletes in similar situations. Now, when it comes to the shift in fan perception, there's a growing conversation among fans, not necessarily based on facts, but on perception, because that's the internet's gonna internet. Whole lot of goddamn perception and a whole lot of goddamn jabber-jawing going on, right? But there's a growing conversation, not necessarily based on facts, but perception, that Claressa Shields is becoming more associated with controversy than dominance. I tend to agree with that. Some fans feel that her messaging has become more reactive. She's engaging more with critics, and she's responding to other fighters' attention. She's out here talking about things that she has no business even talking about. She's just out here talking, and there's really a concentrated attack on Alycia Baumgardner. Now, at the same time, fighters like the name I just mentioned, Alycia Baumgardner, especially through platforms connected to most valuable promotions, are gaining visibility in a different way. All right? These are the facts. Polished branding, broader exposure, less visible conflict. You can see that Alycia is trying to just have less visible conflict. And I think that contrast is what's driving the narrative, because she will respond, but you can see that she's trying to have less of that. Now, as far as the comparison and the mentality behind that, I'm not a sports psychologist, but I know in sports psychology, there's something called social comparison theory. Elite athletes constantly compare themselves to rivals, to peers, to rising stars. Not because they're insecure, but because competition fuels greatness. Now, what I'm talking about, I 100% believe ain't no way in the world Papoose would understand this and would bring this to Claressa's attention, or to try to say, hey, we don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Because in the social media era, that comparison never turns off. Claressa comparing herself to all these female fighters, especially now with her and AB, two alpha females going at it. You just see that Claressa is just on go. And this is why I wonder when it comes to Papoose, right? You the boxing promoter over there, you Demetrius Lee to win records, but you heavily involved in her career. You made the $8 million deal. You taking credit for all that. Cool. Take credit for her crashing out on here. You know what I'm saying? Take credit for her not knowing when to turn it off. Because we feel, remember, it's all about perception. Our perception is that you're encouraging it, that you like it, because you benefit. But Claressa isn't benefiting the way these women on MVP are benefiting and are going to benefit. We know competition fuels greatness. We understand that. But instead of just comparing skills and records, you got athletes out here comparing popularity, followers, sponsorships, media attention. That seems to be what the fight is for Claressa. It ain't even about the belts and about what she's done as a pro. It's about a popularity contest, followers, sponsorships, media attention, which she has no sponsorships is my understanding. But if she does, tell me something. I'm not trying to come out here and spread a lie about Claressa. But I don't know of any sponsorships. I know that people who've reached out to her based on what she's told me, but she felt it wasn't the right money. She knows her value. She turned it down. But the bottom line is when you have athletes competing for these things like popularity, followers, media attention, that can create internal pressure, even for the most accomplished champions. But where is the team? That whole thing about attention economy, why drama gets rewarded. Look, Papoose, I'm going to make an assumption here. Why are you rewarding that drama? What's up with the attention economy, man? We understand we're in an era where attention equals currency. We get it. And I think Papoose understands that. He's like, yo, man, more attention, the more drama, good or bad, don't care about what it does for you and your image, that's going to equal currency, and I need that in my pocket. And you're going to get some in your pocket. The whole team wins. The more controversy, which is Claressa. The more bold statements, which is Claressa. The more viral moments, which is Claressa. The more visibility a fighter gets, Claressa has all the visibility. The whole world is talking about her and watching her. So sometimes what fans interpret as negativity or chasing attention can actually be participation in the modern media system, the same place where Papoose says, oh, people are weird, they're making a living off of talking about these things. But you're benefiting too. If Claressa's making $8,000 a day, $5,000 a day, $20,000 a month, 8 and 5 and 40, and I mean, if she's making $200,000 plus a month, or let's just say $100,000 a month on social media, you benefiting too, champ. That could be why there's all this participation in the modern media system, the same way you feel everyone's weird out here. You're right there in the mix. So the problem is short-term attention can create long-term fatigue, which is what I think has happened with Papoose. And even for Claressa, she just keeps going, because if she stops, the money dries up. You know what I'm saying? Why some fans think she's losing support? Let me tell you. Fan loyalty is emotional, not just logical. These people on the internet, and when it comes to fans and just people, period, they tend to support fighters and people who they feel are focused, disciplined, above the noise. But when you have, in boxing, when you have a fighter who appears to engage in back and forth drama, address critics frequently, shift focus away from competition, some fans interpret that as distraction. Whether that's accurate or not, perception becomes reality in the public eye. And that's what Claressa is dealing with. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I wonder what psychology says about all this shit. You know, what's the mental side to this? You know, when athletes are constantly criticized, compared, scrutinized, you know, because they are. They can experience hyper-awareness, always aware of what people are saying. That's Claressa. Claressa's always watching what's going on. She got that hyper-awareness, reactive behavior, responding instead of leading. She's always responding. All these fake burner accounts. I didn't know so many people have them. A lot of people have them. There's a lot of people that be out here in these chats, famous people, but they have these bullshit accounts, so it ain't just Claressa. But they want to react. They want to respond to what people are saying because even they have that hyper-awareness. The one thing about Claressa, and I'm going to go ahead and give her credit for this, she has gone into people's DMs, and she even called into my show as who she was. Now she's hiding behind profile, but she was one of the few who actually came out there without hiding who she was and was trying to get at people. And that hurt her. But I had to give her some respect for that because she just didn't care. But these other ones, there are people, even Beyonce got some burner accounts, I'm sure. I'm sure Beyonce be sitting there, man, Like, oh, somebody talking about me. Ooh, and she come and she typing. You would never know Beyonce was in your chat. But you know why? They got that identity pressure, feeling like they must defend who they are. That's why they do it. I don't have that shit. Like, I just don't have the time. I don't care. Like, I'm a straight up retired military motherfucker. I don't give a shit. I've been through enough. None of this shit bother me. I just don't care. And I don't want to come off talking crazy, but you hear where I could turn people off when I start running my mouth, man. I got that shit in me. Straight combat Air Force motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Fucking straight ridiculous. But I can't let that come out. But not everybody's built like that, where they've been through so much different kind of things and bullshit, so you just don't care. You know what I mean? It's like, you want to talk about me? Here, MFer. Here's my shoes, bozo. Here's my pants, my shirt, MFer. Going out there, man. Do a week in some of the most challenging shit I experienced. Do a week in that, and let's talk. But that identity pressure matters to some people because they feel they got to defend who they are. I don't. I think most people need to develop that. You know, that IDGAF. I don't give a frick. Develop that. Because when you always out here trying to defend who you are, that's just exhausting. Because it creates a validation loop, seeking to correct narratives in real time. And I know that's not true about me. That's what happened with Papoose. I'm Vlad. He was over there trying to correct narratives. What is it? All these false narratives. Nah, man, them validation loops, man. But that's what psychology says. Hyper-awareness, reactive behavior, identity pressure, validation loops. People need to just learn how to operate under extreme public pressure. I'll say that. Learn how to operate under extreme public pressure. Now, the loop that can form. Athletes respond to criticism. We see that happening. Fans react to the response. We see that happening. More attention is generated. We see that happening. Athletes respond again. We see that happening. Then the cycle repeats. And over time, the narrative becomes bigger than the performance, which is exactly what's happening. Now, the long-term effects, if not managed, if the cycle continues, unchecked, psychology suggests potential outcomes like mental fatigue, reduced focus on core performance, brand dilution, right? Too many mixed signals, too much bad attitude, and just too much chaos online. Brand dilution is something I should do a video about. Brand dilution. But you guys understand what that is, right? And then there's the emotional burnout. But again, it's not guaranteed, but possible if the environment stays intense. But when you look at the environment when it comes to Claressa Shields, and any and everywhere she goes, she creates an environment that stays intense. That's why there's the mental fatigue for the people who are around her, the people she's attacking, and the fans. There seems to be a reduced focus on core performance and the brand dilution, which has happened for Claressa Shields. I think it's the brand destruction and the emotional burnout, even for Claressa, where she's out here like, every day is something. People talk about me every day. They lie on me. They this, they that. Their people are wrong if they lie on Claressa. They are wrong. And I want to make sure I say that loud and clear. But you can't be mad at people talking about you because one, you're famous. You belong to the public. Two, you give people a reason to talk about you. Papoose, too. You give everybody all the reason to talk about you. But you're keeping the environment intense. So can the image be repaired? Yeah, I don't know. Because I'm looking at Alycia Baumgardner and women on MVP. I'm just waiting for somebody to announce the 5-year, $30 million deal. I'm just waiting for somebody to announce it. You know what I'm saying? And as far as Claressa, I don't think she gets there. Because there's been so much damage to her image and the people she's gone at. Because I believe she's been encouraged by Papoose to go out there and make noise and confront people and establish that social media presence. I just don't, I've said it before, and I'm going to keep using this word. The damage is irreparable. Now, under normal circumstances, shit's fixable because there are athletes who have done it. They've silenced the noise, reduced engagement with online criticism. They just leave it alone. Return to performance-first messaging. They let the fight or their performance in whatever sport it is speak louder than their words. Selective media presence, cutting back on these interviews. Only appear when it matters, not constantly, because most of these people who are doing interviews, they want drama. They want you to say shit. They want you to go viral. Good example, Claressa Shields on their Breakfast Club interview. This most recent one she did. That was ridiculous. That was when she went out there when it didn't matter and appeared, and she's constantly out here appearing when it doesn't matter, and she has this social media presence that's just hurting her brand and creating these viral moments. So, to try to rebuild narrative control, just focus on legacy, not rival attention, and not your women like Alycia Baumgardner who you're so worried about the competition. And try to align with platforms that amplify your strengths, but so many bridges have been burned. I don't know what platform that she can align with, aside from where she's at with Win Records and Demetrius Salita. So all these things I'm talking about, these are the things that I would think that her team will be talking about with her. Somebody on her team somebody's got to sit back and be looking and saying, yo, Claressa really is the top dog when it comes to these gloves. She really is a top dog. But the way we're going isn't working. We need to forget these low-hanging fruit. We want that sweet, juicy mango up there at the top of the tree, at the tippy, tippy, tippy top of the tree. We want that motherfucker at the tippy, tippy top. How do we get her there? Because we picked a couple little low-hanging fruit, but we want that one. They got to figure that out. It makes me think about high-profile figures who've gone through little similar cycles, like Floyd Mayweather. Criticized constantly, but he leaned into his brand and controlled the narrative. And look at the type of money he made. But look at where he's at now. He's still in a good financial position, but people are still coming out here dogging the man out. Mike Tyson faced public backlash, rebuilt parts of his image later, and look at Mike Tyson. Everybody wants this man to represent their brand. Mike Tyson got all kind of stuff going on. LeBron James went from heavy criticism to long-term brand dominance through controlled messaging. So the pattern shows public perception can shift, both negatively and positively. Everything with Claressa has been negative, 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 negative. In order to swing that back in a positive direction, it's going to take nothing short of a miracle, in my opinion. So can Claressa be saved? I really think it starts with her team. She seems to trust Papoose, have loyalty to Papoose. I think that's where it starts. He has to want to save her. He has to say, forget the money right now. Let me save her. Let's forget about the low-hanging fruit. Let's try to get the public perception to shift in a positive direction. Let's make sure we can show a pattern of positive behavior. And then let's see what happens. Because the framing is a bit dramatic, but here's the reality, all right? Claressa Shields is highly accomplished. She's still active, still relevant. I don't think she should take next year off to have a little Pap Jr. Pap. I don't think she should have a Pap Jr. next year. But that's just me. Nobody cares what I think. I think she should sit there, stay active, stay relevant, keep doing the business, and work on changing the narrative, the perception. And then maybe her public image can absolutely evolve, but it's going to take work, and you have to be consistent. And I'll say this. In fact, athletes often peak again in popularity after adjusting strategy. But who's on her team to help her make those changes necessary, which I think a complete overhaul is required, but to somehow find a way to peak again in popularity? Can she peak again in popularity? With everything she's come out here and she's done. Does Papoose, does he know how to go about doing it? He says he can put asses in seats. Okay, good. He says you're a protector. Okay, protect Claressa. Nah, he ain't trying to act like a tough guy, because that shit is going to end very horribly for you. You know what I'm saying? Be a protector where you say, all right, and apologize to her. I'm sorry I led you down the wrong path. Let's see if we can get you to go in a direction to shift the public perception to where maybe we can get you into a five-year, $30 million deal, or 1 year, $1 million deal. Do something. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna tell you, I don't think he knows how to do it. But I would hope that can happen, because I'm telling you, it seems to be a competition to see who's gonna land the big deal first. So, are we seeing a fall in Claressa Shields? Maybe not necessarily, but it's definitely she's definitely been, well, I would say, yeah, we've seen a fall in Claressa Shields. It's not even just a moment of transition. It's just been a fall. But it hasn't been a crash because she hasn't lost in the ring. She's still dominating in the ring, but you can see that she's trying to navigate the modern attention-driven sports world. And she's trying to navigate it with somebody who doesn't know the direction he needs to take her. And that's a problem. So good luck to Claressa Shields. I'm just going to tell you, when I take a look at all this, and Alycia Baumgardner, and I think about Brandon, and I'm thinking about the image, and I'm thinking about who's there with Claressa Shields and on her team, I'm just not so sure the whole thing about her and fans. I'm just not so sure she can pull all that back together. You know what I'm saying? Baumgardner is smiling. You know, Baumgardner is out here chilling. And people can laugh at Baumgardner, but you watch. Baumgardner's gonna mess around and land a big deal sooner than later. And Claressa's not, because the way MVP is moving these women, they're getting them in front of casual fans and getting them in front of an audience that's going to make them household names. And once you're a household name, you're likable, you're marketable, you're doing all the right things. Jake Paul, with his connections and his power and his profile, you better believe there are going to be people who are going to taking a little peek behind the tent flaps to see what the hell he got going on. And the one person who I think is going to be the one to land the deal, I think it'll be Alycia to land something juicy. Anyway, I just think the way Papoose wanted to move Claressa Shields, I'm making an assumption that it's all on him. I think he has a lot to do with it. Just my opinion. And I think it's turned people off, brands especially, from wanting to work with the GOAT. But she was doing a lot of that before he got involved. But with him, he coming in, it's just been amplified. But that's what happens. Shit backfires. Just the Papoose effect. Wonder if she can shake it off. I don't know. In the breeze.